Hi, everybody. Welcome to Crossroads. So we are Cross Labs, and we have a approximately monthly fun seminar where we invite people from all over the world to explore and explain and share their work on intelligent science. So, I mean, it can be anything from theory to experiments to, for example, today, brain-computer interfaces in video games. So today we have with us Bruno, and Bruno Senzio-Savino is so remind me where you're working right now. So currently, yeah, go ahead.
No, thank you very much for this, Lisa, and thank you for everyone for joining today. Actually, I'm a visiting researcher at Yamagata University. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. And so everybody, so to give you all some context, we met Bruno a while ago. Well, actually, so Maddie, who is one of our members, knows Bruno. And so he introduced Bruno to the team, and he was telling us all about the really cool brain-computer interface things that Bruno's been working on. And lately, he recently submitted a paper to the journal, the EMI journal, and I think the Artificial Life Journal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
innovation, so much intelligence. Yeah, sure.
yeah, exactly. So it's about a video game with artificial life principles, and it's all vegetable themed. So we invited him here today to talk a little bit more about that. So, anyways, I wanted to provide that context for you all who are watching. And so I'm going to go ahead and hand the floor over to you, Bruno.
Thank you very much, Elisa. And again, thank you very much for everyone for this time in the spotlight. So yeah, as Elisa was saying, this is something that we try to make fun and understandable for anyone who wants to understand better concepts on artificial life. So in this case, I was maybe looking forward for some options to bring artificial life so that it can be understood in a very well manner, but also build some sort of ecosystem that can be well managed and then also included and combined with interfaces such as BCI. So I don't know, maybe I thought like making this slides could be a good thing to do it in such a way of storytelling for kids kind of stuff. So as you can see, it's part of reading a book for vegetables, and saying maybe some vegetables here, if you pull them here, you can get some games, which then you can mix with BCI. Who knows? The university has infinity. So we have to try grasping some vegetables out of the blue. So if I go to the next slide, here you can see that of course we also know like once upon a time there was life in a game of artificial life, in a game of life, right? So in this case, as you know, everybody knows how it goes there and how we can get different kind of patterns or stuff. We will play with these. And I said, yeah, we almost always been in contact with this kind of games and looking into how people is using these games and what can happen if you put the simulation to run or whatever system you do. And then I was just looking at my kid, and I was saying, hey, is there any way, like, if you show this to a kid, like they say, what's that? Okay, yeah, dots moving. And how can we make for the kids something enjoyable in which they can interact and build it in something that they are knowledgeable with, right? And of course, kids play all the time. Kids play different things. I'm a millennial myself. And I remember that one of the first things that I was really overwhelmed was when I was 4 years old and I got a Nintendo from my grandfather. And he told me, hey, play this stuff. And what's this? It's an S. It's an S system. And I was like, what's this, And then you know the story. Most of the kids from the yard know how it goes. Well, I was thinking, mass, artificial life, game of life. My kid loves vegetable, right? Every kid loves vegetables, right? So why not put vegetables there? And I started to see that you can mix these patterns with the game of life. But I was then wondering, like, how do you try to mix up this thing with a system that has very much constrained architecture and trying to put all the embedded to work in it? So we see that this brings two other ills, right? Out of curiosity. And we were saying Nintendo, AI, and everybody's AI in AI. So we said, why don't we take some sort of next step, you know? And I was looking, you know, like people is getting into this kind of stuff these days, you know? Like we have video games, and what we see is that actually you're not modding the game itself. You're kind of putting some sort of facade, so to say, so that it can look definitely high definition on something that is running from the past, right? So you're bringing, yeah. So in this case, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't heard for a second. Sorry. Um, So in this case, let me see if I can go to the previous slide here, where you can check on the on the experiments that we have done in order to figure out. I'm not sure if you can see these. Again, perhaps there was some miscommunication here, so just in order to fix it, I would like to say that in this case, we're trying to set up a manual placement of vegetables, but also you have some random placement so that you can experiment either way. You know, it's like Burger King. You know, you have to have your burger either way you want it, as long as you know that you're eating the burger and how the burgers goes. So maybe you can see all the combinations that we can have out by not doing it by ourselves. I mean, if we do a random placement, we get all these 5 million and something combinations. So the probability of getting the same pattern is very like happen nowhere in your entire life. So it's cool that you can experiment different combinations and see what's going to happen and see how the game of life works with a small grid, right? Because kids won't like a 1,000 by 1,000 grid. They want to see what happens in the short term. I mean, you put a fry pan to them, it's like, whoa, a cool fry pan. What can I do with that? You know, that's what kids want to do when they're playing with these things. You know, and well, if I may go to the next one, as I was saying, you know, like after we build this, we came here into, you know, seeing that now games are not, you know, so cool games. So people listen to this retro nostalgia, but they're making retro cool. And what I mean by making retro cool is that they're putting some sort of facade on making it look cool and cool. So I said, you know, as we were talking AI of AI, so why not AI of game? You know, by AI of game, I mean like we should be doing some sort of way to modifying games so that they can look automatically without having for us to do all the hard work of redesigning them and making them out of the spot, you know. So in this sense, we were trying to do our own version of games and trying to implement this, you know, kind of facade to make them look better. I have for example, for you, like where you put some game, like it's 8-bit, and then you're trying to make it HD when you're putting some kind of new sprites, you know, to see how we can generate this out of the blue without having to you to get involved with this. I'm not sure if I jumped one slide here. Just let me see. I don't think so, actually. Yeah, we did. So yeah, we were trying these, you know, you saw it's working, you know. So maybe what you have on one, you know, it can get modified to something better. If I may go to the next one, because that's what we were talking about. The main focus of this was this one. Let's see if I can go. Sometimes you gotta click it here. So the thing here is, as you can see, is why don't we make something that you just talk to? Of course, we are always doing this, you know, AI kind of. What do I do if somebody tells me this, and then you get all this prompting? But prompt the game. I mean, you can prompt the game from the sprites, so that you can prompt the game, or maybe modify a game that you have already done, and then just make it look beautiful, you know, without having you to do all the, you know, technical work around. So as you can see here, we can have a way of encoding these, and whatever you're doing, you're spriting yourself in a new resolution mode. For instance, I don't know, this bald guy here, not to say the bald guy on the talking as well. You generate your own custom sprite sheet, and then you modify it to make it look better. And in such a sense, you can experiment how it looks on the game that we previously did. Like in this case, you can see that, you know, uh, we have an interaction between the previous slides or the previous sprites with the new world. It's like old world meeting new world kind of thing. So now we are using AI to generate tools that kids are going to like, but that they can also interact in different modalities, or I mean, different ways of interaction with games. I don't know. You can see that the fry pan does get modified. Of course, there's some technical stuff that has to be still on working around in order to make it look better. But you can see what we're talking about, right? So as you see, we come from vegetables to AI, and then from AI, we are having some interesting stuff coming up. You know, because people love BCI. We love BCI. What is BCI, right? So BCI, we have brain control interfaces, and I love games, as you might have already noticed. So we say, why don't we play with games on different kind of environments, right? We have 3D environments, and with this signal processing, we can do different kind of how to say coupling, so that the signals we're sending can be understood by an artificial system, and then being run in such a way that you can classify them and act. For instance, what you're seeing here, you can see a 3D model just running there on a specific track that generates a specific brainwave pattern. So in this case, you can use this as some sort of like a keyword or password. Imagine that you're in a bank and you are the top management of that bank. If they for some reason come and try to say, "Hey, open that valve," you're gonna tell them you're not gonna be able to open that valve unless you kill me, because I have a specific memory, which is a specific password. And although you want to reproduce that, you're not gonna obtain it, although unless I have a specific memory that I have to trigger, right? So this guy didn't learn it because he just took it out of the blue. He played some games that made some sort of way for him to remember what he's going to trigger at that specific time, right? So how to get a memory out of someone? I mean, you can hack different biosignals, but getting memories out of people, at least for now, we might have to wait maybe a couple of years until we have some telepathy devices coming up, right? So as you can see there, well, we have some sort of stuff going on there, like games, then BCI. So as you can see, we're clicking out into something that we might pull out as well. Let me see if I can go to the next one here. So we say, okay, so we have BCI. We all know this kind of research on BCI, in which you have always one guy standing in front of the screen. The screen shows something kind of like do it so that you can modify it and get something out of it. There's always, when you're going through BCI, there's this P300 speller thing in which it's going to pop up, and wherever it's popping up, then you're going to say, that's the letter that I want because that's what I was looking at. And then I was saying, oh, you remember Duck Hunt? I mean, or these games in which they have, this small rectangle, white rectangle that pops up whenever the IR has to be located in such sort of way that it matches, and then you are hitting to that specific duck or target. We can somehow have some sort of P300 or above potential out of it, right? So we can actually do what we're doing from the other stuff and bring it into something that kids can understand and kids can play and kids can interact with, right? So in such a way, we are trying to make it up understandable for the oldies, like myself included here, but also for the youngest, like here, right? You can see that P300, right, can go to different platforms. For instance, I love the N64. We might want to try to build up something with the N64. There's you can see Pirates called there. It's a good interface that is like a Unity-based or Unity-like to build games for the 64. Always constrained computer, constrained hardware, because it lets us explore unconventional things that we might not be able to see when you have an open system such as a computer, right? But in this case, you can see that P300 can be applied on 3D. You see this guy is popping. Whenever it's popping, you can attack it or do whatever you want. And another thing that is also cool, right? It's not just one guy. It's two guys. It's three guys. It's four guys. As many guys as you want. It's not just to show that BCI is only one person in front of a computer. You can have different interaction with BCI, and you can see what happens when you put different people, right? And you can put that into some sort of way that people is going to like it, and people is going to interact with it, right? So that's kind of what is all this kind of stuff leading us to, right? Maybe if I can go to the next one, as you say, can we do it? Should we do it? And we say, absolutely. I mean, we can do it. Why not? We can build our own arcade machines and then start putting away so that people can start interacting with this in such a more familiar manner and trying to build up systems that they can, like have the inertia of using from the past experience, so that they can go and plug it in and use and collect the information we need to get more applications for what we need, but also get them to understand and do fun science. Because in the end, what we're trying to do is something that has applications for the world and the people itself, right? This is what we're doing it for, right? And actually, this video that I got sent from one of my friends, you can see that whenever kids are starting to see stuff, they are happy. They're always curious and they say, "Yeah, I want to come in here and play this thing. What's this? How do you interact with this?" Getting to learn new technologies in a way that kids and everyone is very familiarized and very willing to do. It's some way in which we can understand different way of solving modern problems. For instance, in this case, we propose how human in the loop interacts with game of life. So you can see another way to see with BCI. But before I wrap it up for this time, if I may say, if it's okay, I wanted to show you that we are actually going to be participating into a tutorial session in which we are combining what we just said, right? So BCI plus artificial light. Explore how focusing on a specific point and triggering some attention to some light can trigger different kind of results depending on the setup. You might have different people. You might have an overseer who's going to tell who is going to focus on where. The strategy is different. What is going to happen? How is emergence going to come out of it? How it's going to adapt? This is the interesting things that we can solve out with modern problems, right? We're human beings. We're humans in the loop of our life. So how involving ourselves in these kind of environments is actually some good prediction of what is going to happen in our own environments and lives in the future. So I think that this is a good way to wrap up, like from one thing, how we go and we get to something that we never expected to be, but here we are. And I believe that's a way to put it. So from my side, I mean, I think it's something good to explain. In this case, I would like to thank again for your time listening to all this stuff here. Alisa, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present today here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bruno. It's so interesting. So if you're watching live, you can click on that Slido link that was put into the YouTube chat, and you can submit a question there. You can do it anonymously, or you can attach your name to it or something like that. You can also just put it in the YouTube comment box as well, and I'll take a look and find it there. So yeah, I would love to start us off with a question, because I have a burning question. So I'm actually really curious about your own personal tech setup. Like what hardware do you use? Like, is there any particular BCI technology that you think works really well? Because there's a lot of consumer stuff out there these days, and now with AI coding, it makes it possible to I guess build your own software for that kind of stuff. But do you have any recommendations? What do you use and what do you like? Curious to hear more.
Right. So the first time when you start using BCI, most of us started with these uh, NeuroSky hardware, the TGAM1 per se. So that is a module that actually involves an embedded system who is getting all the time pinging every 100 milliseconds, if I'm not wrong, the signal on a specific algorithm output of attention and meditation. Basically, what it does, it's reading your alpha and beta waves and then just transforming it into some sort of uh, known output or more like kind of a understandable output for most people. And when I started using it, I used this kind of Mattel setup, in which it was called, like, I believe it was called Mindwave or something like that, in which you have two people to try to compete over how to make a ball float out of it. So that's how I got into these. And then from there, you have all this open BCI hardware that started to come up as a hype, like on the 2016, 2017, right? And they started to have a cool thing, which is you can print your own headset, the 3D, the Spider Claw, and then you can actually use an SDK to develop your own functionality with whatever API you want to put it, Unity per se. Uh, After that, I had the opportunity to go with the Nautilus on their experimental setups. So if you ask me, if you want to have a cool Smash Brothers an afternoon, you can do it with Mindwave and try to see how you can come out with some specific signals. For people who want to get started on it, I would definitely start with one signal and try to run it and try to do something out of it from the blue. And then maybe you can hack it. I mean, there's also the emotive epoch, but I'm mostly familiarized with those three. I'm not sure if this is responding to your question at this moment.
It is like
Cool.
that's all really helpful because, like I said, there's just so much out there, and I was curious what an expert has to say about how to get started. So I've also seen, I think there's a streamer on Twitch, and I don't remember her name, but she wears a headset. I can't remember the headset either, and she plays Dark Souls, I think, and
Okay.
she with using these kinds of signals. And I always wondered what her tech setup was, and I think you can learn about it somewhere. But I'm okay now. I just don't remember anything, so that wasn't very useful. But the point is that I was wondering how I guess personalized this BCI software needs to be to map the signals from somebody's brain activity into some kind of action, because I don't know a lot about neuroscience, but what I've heard from others is that these sorts of things can vary a lot from person to person. And I guess, like, for video games, do you see the need for like this personalized signal learning really important, like really necessary, or do you think some things are consistent from person to person?
Well, what you have pointed out here for me, it's like a big pop-up because the way I see it, our skull is a stadium, and you're clapping one neuron, and then depending on the group of neurons that you're going to activate, you're going to have a specific signal on a specific region. But maybe the way that you are triggering those neurons become a specific brainwave, and in such a sense, we might have to deal on the power of a specific frequency spectrum so that then we can target these for like maybe some intuitive kind of signals, like a higher layer of the signals that we're trying to accommodate with. In such a sense, we might not be able to have the same brainwave generation behavior. For instance, if you are a guy from India, I'm not saying because these guys do meditation the whole time, for them, generating a specific meditation pattern would be easier for someone who has maybe different kind of background on the way they are acting on their everyday. But for other people, might be more easier to be putting attention to stuff. And that's how you have now gone to a specific point in which you have a classroom of different kids, and all of them might have been putting attention at some point, but you can distinguish who's having this kind of deficit on focusing on a specific point of time. And that is all because of this high layer commonality of the behaviors that they are expressing. But in other sense, if we go to the details on how everyone is working inside, of course, we will have to go to a case in which we'll have to know how they specifically trigger each individual behavior and maybe have some sort of digging up on how the way we train our system to learn how they interact with whatever they're being put in front of might trigger a specific way of acting from the system that is receiving this signal. So in essence, what we are trying to do here maybe is to try to commonize some pattern, some behavioral pattern. But on other sense, if we go to the minor details, then in these cases, we might need to apply more specific and detailed processing techniques, or even AI, as it's already being used these days. When we go to use tomography-based analysis, people have been read of their dreams. How have they done that? I mean, they are actually, going forward into this kind of stuff, and it's cool, right? We can get a video game out of our dreams. Who knows?
That would be amazing. It's very futuristic and sci-fi, and it's really exciting that that kind of stuff keeps getting closer and closer. And personally, I can't wait. I would love to capture like my dreams and memories and things like that through like these BCIs. I think it's really fun. So there's a couple of questions in the Slido. So I'm going to go
Okay.
over there really quick. So let's go to Maddie's question. He is saying that the application of BCI for cybersecurity is promising. He's got the general idea, but he would like some more details of its possible realization.
Well, it would be interesting to understand what he meant by cybersecurity. If by cybersecurity he's talking about the guy from the bank, well, I would say that there is something called unspoken speech. So, unspoken speech is actually reading signals from the parietal lobe of the people, which is understood as now where the speech is being generated from. So if in some sort of sense we try to reach which words or what concept are we are thinking about at a specific point on time, then we might have some sort of like people keep cryptography. If we can have some sort of cryptography way of embedding our thoughts and use it so that maybe some specific people or some specific algorithm can decode it somewhere else, then we have a way on how to build out a more secure and strength some system that depends on a specific person at some point in time. I don't know if this kind of relates to the specifics of his question, but I think that is something that has to be more studied. But in the end, it will result with some interesting patterns coming out and some algorithms that we can base so that we can implement in the real world.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think like this idea, what did you call it? It's like some kind of speech with the frontal lobe?
Oh, I mean, I've read some papers which they talk about unspoken speech.
Unspoken
Unspoken.
speech. That's what it is. That's fascinating. Is that the same kind of, I guess, like brainwave patterns that are used for, like, for example, like, well, maybe not Stephen Hawking, but I mean, like, for people who are paralyzed and can't speak? Is that the same kind of signal?
That's a good question. I am not sure if that is specifically what Dr. Hawkins was using at the time. I might be a combination of other patterns. But in this case, unspoken speech, as far as I read, is some sort of signal that you have to process from the parietal lobe. And then from there, relating to a specific set of words, you might have to trigger a specific pattern that you have to process from there as along of how many words can be determined or how many words can be coming out of that. It depends on the algorithm and the processing. But also, it was on very experimental phases. And as far as I've read as well, it has been tried to be applied to dogs and other animals or pets because we cannot understand what they do sometimes, but maybe there is some small communication pattern that we can grab out of it. Yeah.
That would be great. Although I'm afraid that my cats, all they would say is, "Please give me food," and I think maybe that's maybe that's what every animal would ask for.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, let's go back to the Slido. We've got, let's see. So somebody anonymously has asked, how do kids respond to playing the game of life, like the vegetable edition? Like, what's their response? What's their reaction? Can you tell us more about their experience?
What happened to me was very interesting. Actually, I have this guy here, this guy here, resembles someone to you. I mean, for me, it resembles Papa. So when my kids saw this, was like, my father is in the game that he showed me playing for other stuff. What is he doing there? And she was like, wow, it's amazing. I want to play this. And then she started playing on it, and I said, wow, vegetables. I wanna play with the vegetables. I want to see what's coming up with the vegetables. She started playing with the vegetables, and then I told her, you have this instruction manual, and wow, you have an entire yarn. What can you do with this yarn? And then she started looking. Of course, she's a 4 year old. She's not going to be able to read, but she's going to understand that for some reason something is going on here, And she started playing, and then she started saying, I want to play and I want to grab the vegetables and I want to fry them. I want to cook the vegetables. At least she was happy with that, and she was saying, I want to cook the vegetables and I want to see what's coming out of it, So I believe that it was a very good and positive reaction or reception from one of the people I have used this with. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cute. And I think previously when we were chatting, I think one of the ideas that you brought up was now with like generative AI images, it's easy to put yourself into these video games, right?
Yeah, but I believe that still one constraint that we might have to be moving on is putting the artificial things into the real things. By that, I mean embedded systems. The thing is that, as you can see, AI is still struggling a little bit on putting down into solid ground. And if we're talking about legacy systems, there's two factors here. With legacy systems, you have the factor that you might have to understand the specifics of the hardware and all the constraints and program in all the assembly in order to do it the way you want to do it. But on the other hand, you have, how to say, the understanding than doing this is going to provide you more easiness on simulating or having the environment conditions that you're willing to use. So I don't know if this kind of helps us understand that when we're trying to bring the old world to the new world, we have a good mixture of what has to be preserved and used from both so that it actually gives us some value in the end. Yeah, I guess I would go there like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
Cool.
So somebody was saying that let's see. They said, "Oops, I accidentally marked it as answered. Oh no, where did it go? I pressed the wrong button inside. Archive? Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's see. Okay, restore. Okay, this is the correct. Okay, highlighted. Okay, great. Okay, so connecting a BCI to one of those world generators, like the one from Google, sounds like a really cool idea. And maybe by doing this, we can play on each other's dreams one day. Uh, I guess, like, have you thought about this direction a little bit?
You know, I have thought about some sort of experimental lobotomy. Just joking there. But I mean, it's like, why don't, right? Like about this unspoken kind of stuff, unspoken speech, like you can just wear the helmet or the device and try to talk to someone else. Then we're having some sort of telepathy. Early stage telepathy. Has people thought about this? I mean, again, I'm trying to bring it a science that is useful for everyone. It's not just something that is going to be stuck on a paper for no one to read for a while. It's something that is going to be used by people and understood that what they are doing generates information that is going to help them in the future as well. So we are having a feedbacking our feedback to get something better and improving in the future. In such a sense, I would say that maybe telepathy would be a good initial stage of it, especially for people who is paraplegic or cannot use their four or five senses very good in a good way. They can understand what they're being told by reading our minds, kind of stuff. Alien communication of the modern era for humans, I guess. But yeah,
That's true. That's true. It's hard enough to communicate with each other, even
yeah,
with like spoken language.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. Um, let's see. And I just want to make sure that we have the slide of question. So we have another one. So somebody is asking that there is such a good potential in your game of Bald Bee looking for his
Ah,
vegetables,
yeah.
right? So, what do you think about using it in a life education workshop, for example, or something similar, or partnering with classrooms or things like that? What are your thoughts?
That is cool. Imagine bulb B on the picture from the middle bottom. Instead of being big flowers, you have bulb B who has to focus on grow one of the vegetables of the left or the right yard. And seeing how the interaction of bulb B guys who are going to play with the game might make some vegetables coming out of the loop in a faster way than others. I mean, I'm not sure on most of the people on the audience who have watched the Mythbusters. Maybe you have, Lisa. I'm not sure if I'm wrong or not. These guys had this experiment in which you put two different kind of fields of flowers. One, they put some rock music and they started yelling stuff at them. But on the other yarn, they have flowers with classical music and they start to say like praising them kind of stuff. In the end, the result is very understandable. So how does that work when we're trying to put this on a field with Ball B? Perhaps Ball B can become your video game pet and you can use it for different stuff. I mean, you kind of see how you can make another facet of research itself, right? Actually, if I may say, Ball B is one of the first games which itself it's a paper. So in such a sense, if we are bringing applications of the modern world to make it something that is more understandable of science for everyone, I think that is a good way of having a good start on how to put this for people. I'm not sure if this kind of goes or traces the way on what I'm thinking with this bald guy thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because there's a lot of really great potential, I guess, technologies to teach this kind of stuff and really explore these kinds of things in the classroom. And not even just with the classroom, but I mean beyond that. And I think we're at a really exciting time in I guess, like technology, where it's really easy to share these sorts of resources and all of this kinds of knowledge and really build things really quickly. It's a really exciting thing. But I guess, like, speaking of the future, so I guess, what are the things you're looking most excited for? I mean, like, sorry, what are the things are you most excited for and looking forward to the most when it comes to BCI technology and the kinds of potential applications? Like, what do you like when you go to bed? What do you like hope for and you're like dreaming about?
Well, with BCI, I mean, it's never the end of the story because when you thought that one thought has already been unraveled, then there comes the next thought. So, in order to go into such chaos of thoughts, we might have to find an entropy to put an order to all these thoughts. As in such a sense, what we might have to be end up doing is to have a classification of different fields of new BCI technologies and fields of study so that we can put them all together and follow a specific line of research at a time so that we can develop something that is understandable for everyone and it's going to bring great applications. We are having these wearable electrodes in which you can print the gold electrode 3D and you can do it yourself. Who's familiarized with this? Well, the guys were printing it, but does everyone know it? Right? You were asking me about these commercial devices, but at some point, when are we going to be able to tattoo temporarily? I mean, permanently, not permanently, tattooing our electrodes and try to do it for some specific reasons, or how to have the BCI integrated in our cells. Elon Musk is already doing it through the Neuralink at some point. Who's gonna tell us that we might not have that inserted in our brain itself, but might be something that you can wear off, like your contact lenses, which is some research going there. There's this implant in-ear EEG reading devices as well. I mean, there's this guy who's doing this speech with EMG. So there's a mixture of wearable devices that can work with the BCI. There's also neurofeedback, right? In this case, these guys were doing marketing. They're trying to see what are you focusing at a specific point in time so that they can sell you more of what you were looking at that point. But taking a view into another sea with the same boat, we might find out that neurofeedback might be essential for diseases and how to treat different pattern of brainwaves that we haven't been coming along in an effective way before. So the applications are extensive, infinite, numerous, infinite as our own brain itself, quantumly infinitive. Speaking of quantum, I have also been coming along these papers that are doing quantum algorithms to kind of decipher BCI. So we are actually interacting with our own BCI multiverse of things, right? So crypto mining with the brain, who knows? Right? Maybe we can
Can you
use our
imagine?
brain for crypto mining, right? Use the parts that we're not using to do that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I guess.
Sounds very cyberpunk, especially with the what do you call it? The electrode tattoos. That's a really cool idea. I think it's very interesting to think about the kinds of I guess, like, wearables, the way that you can wear them in semi-permanent, temporary, and more permanent ways. And I think that, yeah, we'll have to see what sticks and what doesn't stick and what's useful. And I really like your idea of, like, the health monitoring with the different brain waves to detect any diseases and things, or especially early. I think that's a really important. I guess, like, that's a really important aspect for all of this.
Cool. I mean, it's a good journey that everyone who wants to join the boat might get in the boat and try to explore the new seas. The cool thing about this kind of future technologies is the blue ocean that we're getting into. And of course, it's a blue ocean. It's going to be tides, it's going to be waves, but in the end, there's going to be a nice island which we can settle and build a very good fortress of knowledge for everyone in the future. But again, all this wording is just seeing that we have potential of what is coming out of all these things, fortunately.
So true. So true. Well, I think maybe we can wrap it up. Thank you all so much for joining today. And thank you so much, Bruno. This is absolutely amazing.
It's been a pleasure, Alisa, and everyone on the audience. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to explore and do cool things together. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And also, I guess like maybe can you show the slide again about the workshop that you're leading at A Life? Bruno and the Cross Labs team are collaborating to host a workshop at A Life 2026 in Canada in Waterloo. So be sure to check that out. And I think we'll be sharing more information on that soon. And you can find that information on CrossLab social media, but also through the conference as well. We'll be able to post a website and some more information. So keep your eyes out. I think there's going to be live tutorials. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't want to keep spoiling it here, but I believe that some people is going to get a good gaming experience out of it.
Exciting. Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I've only tried BCI technology a couple of times, and one of them, like the first time, was with that ping pong ball going up and down. It was at a museum, and I was like so amazed at it. But I think that people will have a even richer experience at our workshop. So if you're coming to the A Life conference, definitely catch us there. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And we are going to sign off for now, but don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be the
Yeah.
first to know about our next great event. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.